Welcome to TVGuestpert's broadcast podcast. I'm Ariana Tejero. On this show, we interview Hollywood's executives, creatives, and innovatives, and more. And the hope is that from this podcast, you can glean something for your own marketing and branding and promotion. On this episode, we have New York Times bestselling author and life coach, Christy Whitman. And thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Ariana.
I'd like to start out with just a brief history of your life and your career.
Well, like most people, I kind of was just checking the boxes, of what I needed to accomplish to be happy based on what I grew up, being trained in as far as, if you make money, if you have a career, if you have health in your body, then you'll be happy. And I found myself in my early 20s having all those things and not being happy. And really that led me on a spiritual quest to learn 25 years ago about the universal laws. And even though I was a salesperson in sales and marketing for wine and liquor companies and Pepsi-Cola, and then ultimately pharmaceutical companies, underneath all of that, it was my wanting to succeed on my terms and to be able to feel fulfilled in what I was doing. And when I learned about the universal laws, specifically law of attraction, I was able to start feeling that I was on purpose. And when that happened, my first book came through me, and this is 20 years ago, where I then started speaking in bookstores and churches on the contents of my book. And then I started coaching. And so I started coaching people on how to process their energy. And since then I'm on my 7th book now, and I've certified over 3,000 life coaches, and been on lots of different podcasts and TV shows. And I've literally created a dream life and did it from the inside out instead of going after what I wanted to feel a certain way.
Yeah, it's just very intriguing, the fact that, you find yourself at a crossroads in your early 20s and you decided to change everything and do what made you most happy. And then it's resonated with so many people. I want the point of this interview too is just to show how authors or coaches, transformational speakers can use their content and channel that to media and TV, because sometimes that can be difficult. If you don't have like a concrete product that you're selling, how can we make that work and translate on a segment? And before we get into that, I just want to go over some key terms from your new book and basically everything you do. So desire factor, that's the name of the book. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
Well, every person has desires, except for most of us either don't know how to follow those desires and manifest them, or that we talk ourselves out of it based on our, past history, or what we were conditioned to think, like this desire is okay, but this desire is not okay. And whenever we are receiving a desire, when we have an idea and we feel ourselves moving forward with that desire, excited by that desire, and that desire is good for us and for other people, that comes from our divine self. And so from the spiritual perspective, we can't look at like things that are a desire that's like a material thing. Like I give an example of a couple of purses that I wanted to have in my life. Those were desires that I had. And some people might look at that and go, well, that's so materialistic. But from my perspective, and from what I know to be true, is that it doesn't matter what you desire as long as it doesn't harm or hurt anybody else. And we're told that, oh, well, that's materialistic, so that's bad. But if I feel excited about it, if I'm moved by it, and it helps me literally become the person I want to be, then why is that desire bad? So the desire factor is really about the fact that we receive a desire, and then we can then move in the direction of having it, and understanding that whatever that desire is, it's literally a spiritual path for us to expand and to become more of who we really are. Whether it's a pair of golf clubs or a trip to Idaho or a trip to Austria or, high-end purses. When we have this desire and we move towards it, then we become a different person in the having of that desire. And that's really what the desire factor is all about.
You mentioned to model homes and touring model homes, which is something I love to do too, because you see what you want and then it puts you in the mood like I want to attain that, and you're going towards a higher path by doing so. So materialism and spirituality and happiness can work together.
They have to. I mean, everything that's under forms is energy. And what is energy? It's all divine. And so whether it's a beautiful, home, and say it's a multi-million dollar home that you want to live in, and you're in the place where you're not a vibrational match to that yet, by you becoming a vibrational match to it, you literally expand and become more connected and more of who you are. So it's an opportunity for growth, and it's also an opportunity for us to have fun while we're having this life experience.
Each chapter of the book, you start it with a quote, which I'll get to, and then you end it with kind of a synopsis of what you talked about in the chapter, and then a meditation, which I think is great, super organized and easy to read. The quote in the beginning is from something called the Quantum Council. Can you explain what that is for us?
Yes. So I am a channeler, and I channel the Council of Light. So think of it as more well known is Abraham Hicks, where they are a channel for Esther Hicks is a channel for Abraham. I am a channel for the Quantum Council of Light, and they are ascended masters. They're high being, higher consciousness. That when they come in, my consciousness goes out, and they come in, and you could tell, like when you see it, that my energy is different. They have a different accent. They speak in a different way. The tonality of everything is different. And so they're really here just because I kept leaning into being an energy master and leaning into being a healer and working with the universal laws. They came through me to be able to speak and to help other people be able to fuse both the material and the spiritual, to be able to fuse together both the non-physical and the physical, because so many people are out there on the edge of their lives feeling like this is all there is, and that their physical the physical part of them is who they are, and what they, they're here to pay bills and, collect things, right? When we're here for so much more, and it's fusing those both parts.
And what about the 7 principles? That's basically the outline of your book.
Yeah, so the 7 principles are really the steps to manifesting any desire, no matter what it is. And it's kind of like a combination lock. If you had like 12, 22, 32, you have to go in a certain order in order for the lock to open. And so there's a lot of people that talk about desires. There's a lot of people that talk about, universal laws or manifesting and things like that. And why a lot of people get really frustrated is because they're not doing it in the right order. And when you do it in the correct order, then it opens up like a combination lock. And so as long as you're following these 7 steps, and they don't have to take long. I was telling somebody the other day that when you're knowing these 7 steps, you can do them in a matter of minutes, but it's all too literally for the purpose of aligning you with your divine self, to allow that flow of energy through you, through your own physical container, and to the thing that you desire, while we also then take the action steps to get there. And so there's 7 principles, literally 7 steps.
It reminds me a little bit, because I think this can apply to different fields. So Dave Ramsey, financial coach, he has his baby steps.
Yes.
And you're supposed to do them in order, like you go 1 through 6, and then you can kind of move around, but it's proven to be effective if you follow that order.
Exactly. Yeah.
Having said all of this, some of these things are kind of high concepts, or the way we describe them are, and in actuality, they're very easy and relatable. But again, putting that on TV, that's a different story. So you've been on multiple platforms, you've been on talk shows, you've been on films. What typically, like in your past experience, constitutes a segment for you?
Well, something that someone can really relate to and have something that they can take away. So it has to be something that is in someone's mind. Like, I'm frustrated with this. Like, I have this block. So a segment, according to, say, the desire factor, what are the top 3 blocks that people have in manifesting their desires? Right. And then I would be able to go on that segment or that show and talk 1, 2, 3. So it's things that people can take away, it's information, and then it's also something of tremendous value for the viewer, the listener, that they can take and apply in their lives. So, thinking of it as sound bites, but really grounding it in practicality, because like what I talk about, and I've worked with Jackie Jordan for a very long time in grounding what I speak about, because it's very esoteric. I mean, we're talking about universal laws. So how do we allow that to be relatable to people that are like, what is that law of attraction, right? How do you really make that understandable? And so it's bringing it down into sound bite speaking points that people can take away from those different segments.
I think also this speaks to the success or the mainstream success of The Secret, which I know you're involved in, just how cinematic it became, just how it started with a book, and then you saw it on different segments on TV and became a very relatable subject to many people, but that has to do with production value too.
Right.
Do you ever use for your segments any props, anything like that?
I sometimes I do. It depends on the segment. So interestingly enough, a couple of years ago, when I was the Desire Factor started off as a purse book, because for me, purses were always the thing, and I have stories in the Desire Factor, which of some high end books or some high end purses. And one of my first high end purse was a Coach purse, and I had never had a Coach purse before. And for me at the time, I was a smoker. And so kind of like the carrot at the, dangling at the end of the stick was for me to get my Coach purse, I needed to become a non-smoker. Because in my mind, the person that had a Coach purse didn't have smelly cigarettes in the bottom of their purse. So I would tell myself, and I use that as a reward, like once I quit smoking, then I will buy the Coach purse. So yes, I got the Coach purse and I loved wearing it, and I had it for a long time, and I felt great about it because I love high-end fashion, but it was more about who I became in the process. And then I share in the book that there's another story when I was just first starting my business, and I went to Venice with my husband and my parents, and I saw like every single store that was like Dior and Dolce & Gabbana and Versace and Fendi, and just saw all these stores, and I was like, wow. The last thing I could have done at that time that would have been completely so irresponsible was to buy a $3,000 purse, because I just started my business. And so I told myself, I'm going to come back here someday, and I'm going to come into Venice, and I'm going to allow myself to buy whatever purse. I'm going to walk in whatever store, and whatever purse excites me, I'm going to buy that purse. And from that time I went until the time I came back to Venice, my company had turned into a brand new baby company to a multi-million-dollar company, with me becoming a New York Times bestselling author of 2 different books and lots of success. So when I stepped foot in Venice, I told my husband, I'm like, today we're shopping. He's like, okay. So I went to store looking at every purse, which store excited me and, enlivened me. And I found a beautiful purse at Dolce & Gabbana. I didn't care what the price was. I bought it. And it was like, that is a symbol of success for me. It's who I became in the process of that carrot, if you will. That purse was my desire factor. And
How
so
many years had passed in between the first trip and the second?
10 years.
Wow, so you waited a long time for that bag.
I did. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did you go back specifically to get a bag, or was it just a trip to Venice?
No, we were going on I had purchased for my parents for Christmas a Mediterranean cruise. And so we all got to go on it. And so it was a gift for them because they really wanted to go out on another cruise. And that was another great part of being successful, is I could give generously to my parents. And so part of the cruise was going to Venice for a day and a half. And so it was
Convenient,
great.
right?
Yes, how convenient. And so that's why I said, I know what I'm doing when we go to Venice.
Oh,
So,
that's
but
fantastic.
to answer your original question,
Yeah.
so I did a segment, I believe it was in Sacramento, and I had all of these different purses, including my Dolce & Gabbana purse, including the Coach purse. And I talked about how all of these purses represent a symbol of success. There was another one that I had, some Miu Miu purse, and it was my first, I did $1 million launch. And I told my husband, that's what I'm going to give myself as a reward, as I'm going to go buy, instead of a Prada bag, I'm going to go buy a Miu Miu purse. And I did. And so that purse was in that segment as well, using props to show like these were each different symbols of success for me.
So almost like a timeline of your life through bags.
Through purses, yeah.
And then each one symbolizes something, like either an obstacle you overcame or some way that you bettered yourself.
Yes.
I like how visual that is too. Were you the one who came up with that idea, or was it TV Guestpert?
I think it was a combination of both, because I had said I want to do this purse book, and it obviously morphed into the Desire Factor. And so Jackie was like, we could do a segment with that, and you could bring all your purses. And I'm like, I love it. So yeah,
That's that's great. I mean, I think with something like that too, you could also use, I mean, you have photos from the trips. It just it's really cool that you have, something concrete to attach to just the idea, because on TV that's so important, just because people can tune out so easily or get bored if it's too verbose or too pedantic. So if you see something pretty and it's visual, then yeah, I'm gonna tune in. And I think that's why like today's show is so successful, because you have those segments that really like draw people in.
absolutely.
Yeah. And how along the way, because I know you mentioned you've worked with Jackie for a long time, so TV Guestpert, how has it helped you throughout the years?
Well, it's really, I mean, I before TV Guestperts, I worked with other people that would give me media training and things like that. But Jackie is on a whole different level. And what I love about Jackie is that not only does she trained me to speak in sound bites and speaking points, it helped me in podcasting interviews, it helped me in all interviews, but she got me on different shows. She has the ins and the, to get me on these different shows. And she knows what the shows are looking for and how it can be relatable to this esoteric thing that I talk about. So I was able to get on the Today Show and to get on the Marilyn Dennis show in Canada, in Toronto, and, lots of different Fox News and the Hallmark Channel and different places like this. And what I love about Jackie and her team, Stephanie's amazing, the whole team's amazing, is that she's always about coaching me afterwards. So there were many years where she would coach me beforehand. And especially for going on the Today Show, she's like, speak in speaking points where if they ask you a question, you share your credibility. So someone asked a question, right? And Hoda might ask me a question on the Today Show. And then I would say, well, as a coach for 20 years, da, 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 da. So I would then answer the question that was answered, or answer the question that was asked, with a speaking point, and also qualifying how I know, right? How I'm an expert to be able to talk about this. I did a couple segments in LA when I had a program called the Enlightened Kid program. And she was saying to me, not only are you a law of attraction expert, but talked about how you are a mother. And I've done different parenting segments like here in Arizona and places like that. And I always would qualify myself with my expertise up front, right? So as a mother of two, so that the audience then knows, oh, okay, she's not just a coach, she's actually a mother, right? She has two kids. And so I love that, because it's always coaching that she's giving. And then on the back end, she reviews the segments, and she said, you did great here. Here's what I would do differently next time.
It's super helpful. Just like you're saying, the way you phrase things can definitely make or break when it comes to viewership. It's like, okay, the credibility part of it too. And then also, again, this idea of being too pedantic, you have to make it very relatable and very eighth grade level, because that's what people are tuning into.
Yes, absolutely.
There's also the social media component of all this, which I imagine is a very big deal for your business. And especially during the pandemic, this is how we get across messages to people. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with social media and how it's grown over the years?
Yeah, so I first started with Facebook, and back in 2016, that's when it really started, not only becoming something that I did to, get myself out there, but actually became an income stream for me, because I had this idea to do a 30 days of meditations on Facebook. And what I would do is the first 3 days, and I'm still doing this to this day, because the work is so impactful, and yet it's really accessible too. I did the first 3 days to my Christy Whitman International Facebook page, and people would come on live, or they would see the video later on the recording, and they would do these meditations for 3 days in a row. And they, of course, naturally then wanted to join the rest of the month. Well, I gave them the first 3 days for free, and then they registered, and then got the 4th through the 30th day in a private Facebook group. And then on top of that, I added Zoom later for people that aren't on Facebook. But it's brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars to the company, and also has created a lot of impact, because it's great for me to give in light. And it's a great way for people that aren't ready to make that commitment or can't, for whatever reason, make that commitment to join me for the private, rest of the time. So it's a give, it's making impact. People's lives are being changed. And, and those people that do decide to come with me, they usually will go and do other work with me, whether it's one-on-one coaching or join other programs that I have. And so it's been a really good avenue, like just like PR, like being on TV, right, is a really great way for people to get to know you. And if they're really interested and really drawn into you, they'll go check out your website and maybe join a program. Social media is another avenue to which bring people into your business.
And how do you navigate social media? Because many people say like social media, it's a great tool, but it can also be very toxic. And as far as the work you're doing, how do you delineate that, like create that fine line between the two?
Yeah, I'm not afraid to unfriend people. I'm not afraid to, I've had people that make negative comments about things that I've said. I remember, and this is why it's important, when Black Lives Matter happened, it was like right on the cusp of it. And I was speaking from a higher perspective, not just from a human perspective. And I did a Facebook Live, and I didn't know it was a bad thing to say that all lives matter. I didn't get the knowledge on that. And so I was saying, well, of course, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. And I was getting blasted as I'm doing this, Facebook Live. I'm seeing people write in there, "You're racist." I'm like, you not hear what I'm saying? I'm so not racist. And later had to then go back and educate myself, like, oh, okay, this is what they're saying. That because if you have, 10 houses on a street and one house is burning down, you don't go, oh, but all the other houses are important too. You go and pay attention and obviously get water and a fire truck to the houses burning down. I get that now. But that I had a lot of toxicity coming at me. And I just decided to delete that Facebook Live. There were a couple people that were super toxic that I'm like, I don't allow this into my life at all. So I unfriended them or got them out of my Facebook fan page. There's people you can block. There's comments that you can remove. And for me, I'll even put in a post sometimes that it's like only positive comments. If you're going to write a negative comment, it's going to be deleted. So that's just I boundary the energy around me. It's really important for me as an energy,
Yeah.
person. And so my team is very, they know to structure that. If they get negative emails in, they tell me what I need to know. But people that are just being the haters, they don't even let me see those emails because they know that they're there to protect me too, so that I can keep my energy high so I can continue to serve in light. And so that's just something that I've developed a long time ago, to know that, if someone's giving me a comment, like saying, someone gave me a comment the other day. I was doing a show, my own podcast, and I was interviewing Marcy Shimoff, who was in the Secret, and she had done a bunch of Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And I said, if you don't know who Marcy Shimoff is, you must have lived under a rock. And so this person said, hey, I always watch my words. I love your work. That didn't feel good. Because I do know, and she goes, I do know who Marcy Shimoff is, and I don't live under a rock. She goes, but that just felt negative. And I'm like, okay, that's good feedback, right? So someone was turned off by the fact they said, you must have been under a rock. Okay, I can take that into account. Probably not something that's positive to say. I'll move forward with that next time, right? But if someone is just being negative to be negative, it's like I just delete that stuff.
I imagine too, it's taken you a long time to get to this point where you're comfortable enough to say, hey, that's not okay, versus, okay, I'm taking this feedback. I'm not going to let it affect me or the way I think. That's not easy on social media.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first started online and I would have my email, community, and someone would unsubscribe and I'd be like, why?
Oh.
Why? What did I do wrong? Now it's like I don't even see that stuff. It's like I really just allow myself to be in this positive bubble so that I can focus on what I'm doing. I know what my lane is. I know I'm an author, I'm a coach, I'm a channeler. It's like these are things I do, and all the other things I hire my team to do to be able to filter out so that I could just stay connected.
And how have you grown during the pandemic? I imagine a lot of people are relying on you for some much needed help right now.
You know, it's funny. I feel like the work that I've done for the past 25 years all prepared me to be and hold the light for other people during that time. So for me, I've had one of the best years of my life. I mean, it sounds really funny, and it almost sounds strange, but others that I know that are colleagues that have been doing this work for a long time, they too are thriving, and they know that they're in charge of their own consciousness, their thoughts, how they feel. And you know, since my business has been online, I didn't skip a beat there. I had my kids home more, you know, and so there was adjustment there, but I enjoyed it. And so I felt like I grew a lot in all aspects. And I'm grateful for all the inner work that I did for all of those years, so that I could, at a time when a lot of people needed it, be that beacon of light.
And especially for people who don't have the resources right now.
Yes, exactly.
There's a colleague of mine who we have these conversations a lot just in the newsroom talking about positive thinking and how sometimes in a sense it can be tyrannical. Like you have to be careful to allow space for negative thoughts and to acknowledge that they exist. But at the same time, he always says, if you ask him, oh, how are you? How's your day? It's the best day of my life. It's the best year of my life. And I started thinking that way too, like, oh, wow, something really bad happens. Technically, it is still the best day of your life because you carry everything with you that happened before. But
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to keep the positivity up. I will say that. So what's been your to that sense, what's been your main message to your viewers and your constituency during this pandemic to keep the mood up?
Is that you have to manage your own energy. I mean, you know, there's always going to be something, whether it's politics or a pandemic or some, you know, something outside of ourselves that we have no control over. And it's interesting because I speak about universal laws, and with universal laws, you know, we each have our own unique individual experiences of our life, and it's how we think and what we speak. The words that we speak are really important. How we perceive things, how we feel or don't feel. Sometimes people suppress their emotions and don't even allow themselves to feel. And then what we act on. And those are the only things that we really do have control over. And so it's been a message of, you know, this is happening. You have a choice in how you perceive this. If you're perceiving it as lacking, that's within you, and you can shift that perspective, because it's all about energy mastery. And I get, because it's like, you know, someone can say, oh, well, that's so easy for you. But I've done this work when my sister committed suicide, and it got me through that time. When I went through a major debt, when I went through a divorce, I've gone through major things. One of the biggest one was when my son, who's now 10 and fully healthy, when he was 2 months of age, he went through open heart surgery, and they thought he was going to die because no baby had ever made it with his condition past a week, and he was 2 months of age. And so, you know, these were challenging times in my life, but thank God I had the information that I now teach, because I was able to shift focusing on the doom and gloom and what I didn't want to the outcome that I did want to see, to focusing on what I did have control over. And that is my own energy. That's my own emotions. It's my own perspective, my own thoughts, my own words. And everything outside of that, everything shifts. Everything shifts when we are in a space of focusing on faith and what we want, and you know, using our faculty of vision and imagination to focus on what we do want. Our outer reality changes to match that inner reality.
Thank you so much for sharing. That is very enlightening.
You're welcome.
Very good advice. Just in terms of TV guest spurt, and when we talk about TV appearances and ones you've done in the past, you notice that, speaking like this and speaking this advice, that you've gained followings just from those little hits here and there, like on social media or what have you. You've noticed an uptick in followers or viewers.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like it's not just one thing, right? Because I might have someone that saw me on the Today Show, but didn't do anything, right? Didn't come join a program, or didn't come join my email list or follow me on social media. They saw me, they might like what I had to say, maybe they didn't even buy the book, right? But they just kind of heard the segment and went, oh, okay. And then maybe later they saw me on the Hallmark Channel, or they see me on Fox, or they hear me on a podcast. Now it's the second time they're hearing me and they're like, oh, okay. I really like what she's talking about. Let me check into her a little bit more. Let me go online and see her website, or maybe just even let me go buy that book, right? So it takes sometimes people several times to see someone and to see them in different frameworks and formats to be able to say, I really like her. I want to learn more about what she's teaching. That really made a lot of sense. Something in me opened up when she said that. And so let me go check her out more. But so I find that the more that you can do different things, like I'm not just doing social media, right? I'm not just doing PR, but all of that adds, it's kind of like a surround sound effect, right? All of it adds to getting yourself out there, getting your message out to the right people, and then those people feeling compelled to then reach out to you.
So diversifying marketing, which Jackie definitely touches upon in her book, the part about influencers and social media, just again, like we talked about, using media to create a movement, which I think there's many examples of that. Like Jackie even mentioned South Beach Diet is one. Gwyneth Paltrow, when she started saying the phrase consciously uncoupling, things like that, where you hear them and then you're seeing it in multiple places, and then all of a sudden you're saying it and it becomes part of your everyday life. How are you
Absolutely.
marketing for the new book?
So I'm pretty much doing everything I can. I'm doing all sorts of PR for TV, for radio. I'm doing tons of podcasts. It's very different this time around from the other book tours and things that I've done, because now more people are listening to podcasts, more people are doing things virtually. I'm doing a lot of things with endorsements. I've got a lot of really great endorsements from top experts in the personal development field. So I'll be doing a lot of posting on social media with that. I've got affiliates that I've been partnering with for years that are going to promote the book to their communities as well. So pretty much everything I can do while we're still in this kind of funky phase of life. It's a lot more online than anything. I'm not going out to bookstores and doing book signings. That's not in the plan. I think there's a bigger reach that I could get online doing it that way.
How do our viewers find you on social media?
So Christy Whitman International is my Facebook, and Christy Whitman 1 is my Instagram.
And my last question is about your coaching academy.
Yes.
To just tell us about that, like a little bit of what it is, how you could get involved, what it entails.
So yeah, in 2008, I can't believe it's been that long, I had 4 different people in a week ask me if I would certify them, because I was coaching them and they can see that I had a very different approach to coaching. It was very much about universal laws and about energy. And so I said, okay, I get this universe. I've got 4 different people within 4 different days telling me that they want me to coach or certify them. And I've never done that, right? And they didn't want to go to where I went. They're like, no, I want you to do it. So I literally put pen to paper, all of the information just channeled through me, and it ended up being this amazing course. And so I ran the course live for a good 10 years. And now it's an online course. So it's literally a third of the price or the investment that it was before. And it's the Quantum Success Coaching Academy. So you can look up that online, or it's quantum success coaching academy. Anywhere you go, you can get there, but Quantum Success Coaching Academy, and nicknamed QSCA. And you can literally join and start their first class now. And it's designed to be a 10-month certification, but you can go at a faster pace if you want. All of the classes are taught by me from an actual live class. So there's real participants where I'm coaching them, taking them through the 4 different modules that are in the class. And there's feedback that you get from a feedback team, so that you're actually having someone almost like look over your shoulder as you're learning the skill of coaching. So yeah, I'm very proud of it. It's helped a lot of people, and we've certified over 3,000 coaches. And I just think about the ripple effect that makes, and the impact that all those coaches are making with other people that I'll never touch or coach myself, but they're out there making a huge impact.
Thank you so much just for sharing all of this, and also how TV Guestpert has been, played a major role in your success when it comes to media and marketing. And I hope for people watching that you're able to take this as an example of what can be done with Jackie and that you glean something from it. And TV Guestpert podcast, you can find it basically anywhere you watch podcasts. It's at TV Guestpert front and center. And then also TV Guestpert on social media at TV Guestpert, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, what have you. Thank you again, Christy, for your time and for sharing all of your knowledge, imparting your wisdom. And I definitely learned a lot, and I hope our viewers do too.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the new book, and can't wait for everyone to read it. I think
Thank
we
you
all
so
need
much.
it right now.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.